Welcome to Chandwell. My name's Michael and I'm building this rundown street to go along the front of my N-scale model of a rundown West Yorkshire town set in 1993. After the success of the Jasmine down at number 5, I've decided to make another corner unit up at number 21, and this time it will be a kebab shop. In this short video I will show the steps I took to make this kebab shop interior, which, because it's N-scale, is very small. So we've all been in a kebab shop late at night and I'm pretty sure we all have some kind of idea of what they look like. But I'm always keen to make sure that I model what I see rather than what I think that I know. So I spent a lot of time browsing picture after picture of kebab shops on Google. I eventually decided on a simple counter with glazed front, with the doner meat and a door on the back wall. The impressively sized menu would be mounted on the ceiling. As with all my builds, I started drawing in the free application Inkscape. Since this is tiny and will be hidden behind glass, I didn't have to be very detailed in my drawing. I used squares to make a tiled floor and lines to make tiled walls. A simple circle and a couple of lines made the clock, set to Chandwell time of course. A very simple steel texture was stretched into position to make the rear walls and the counter sides. Simple rectangles made up the grille elements. I used photos of real menus and posters for their Chandwell equivalents, and a rough plan of the counter was added on top. Once everything was drawn, I split them up into their separate parts and printed them onto photo paper. They didn't take up much paper and I set about cutting it all out. Some bits were mounted onto card and I always just used thin beads of PVA glue for this. I spread it thin whilst making sure to cover most of the paper and then just smooth it into place. By keeping the layer ever so thin, it instantly dries sufficiently enough to be cut without having to wait. The walls were stuck to 1mm card and fitted inside the building. This gives a nice surface to mount the ceiling onto later. The floor is just a sheet of paper stuck into place. It hangs over the end of the building as the ground floor side of the shop will extend beyond the wall of the building, and we'll see that in a future video. The back wall glued into place. I messed up the window in the door a bit, but once in place I don't think it'll really be noticeable. A small stack of 2 pieces of 1mm card was faced with a bit of steel coloured paper, and then this dropped onto the back wall to look like the extractor. I just used single bits of paper, dropped in at an angle to make up the grill. So here's the doner. It's a 3mm long piece of cocktail stick. I rubbed it up and down on a file to flatten the edges a bit, and then I gently carved away at each end to make it look like it was on a stick. I coloured it in with a bit of warm grey watercolour pencil, and then dropped it into place on a small blob of PVA. The counter is just made from pieces of 1mm card covered in the steel texture. And then the glazed front is just a small strip of waste acetate from a box of chocolates. I added a tiny triangular sliver of card on the wall side, and then rested the counter front on that. With that in place, the triangular end piece just eased into place on another blob of PVA. All that was left to do was to add the menu to the ceiling. So before we take a look at the kebab shop then, it's worth mentioning next week's video. I've got something really special to show you. I'm a little bit behind making it, so the video might slip to Easter Monday. Not even my channel members have seen this one, so I can't even use that as an excuse to entice you to become a channel member. But if you're interested, there is a silver button coming up with details soon. Also, if you're interested in having a building like Riding's house on your layout, please do keep an eye out for this month's Railway Modeller, because in there we've got scale drawings and a little how-to of how to make Riding's house, so do keep an eye out for that if you're interested. So anyway, back to the kebab shop. In place at the top of Station Road, I think that whilst it's simple, it's detailed enough to be recognisable. With the glazing on the front and side, I think Chandwell Best Kebab will be a star attraction to greet weary travellers to this wonderful town. I'd still recommend a walk down the hill though to see Sita in the Jasmine. Go and take a look at this video and remind yourself of her wonderful advert. So until next week then, thank you for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time.